Hello, we are going to make hot cross buns today. A week today is Good Friday, when traditionally the hot cross bun is served at breakfast. It certainly is in our house. Although hot cross buns can be bought all year long in the supermarkets, we are going to make them from scratch. Here are our ingredients. We have got some white bread flour and of course some yeast. This is instant yeast. With the yeast you must also have the salt, and because this is an enriched dough we've got milk and butter and an egg. To make the dough really luxurious and fruity, we've got some raisins and some sultanas. Any dried fruit would be good, and we're going to add today some mixed peel. And the hot cross bun, as you all know, is a spicy bun. So we're going to be adding some cinnamon, and I've got allspice, ground allspice. I don't have any ginger, but you can basically use ground ginger, ground cinnamon, ground allspice, maybe some nutmeg, that might be nice. Those are our ingredients for today. And here we have our equipment. We've got a big, large mixing bowl and a measuring jug. Of course, we'll need some scales. These are my digital scales. Whatever scales you have at home would work. You've got your balance scales, digital scales like this. Often you've got a standard type of scale with a dial. We will need a measuring spoon. These are mine from a Christmas cracker, which I use. And today we are going to be using the teaspoon, so that's our measurement. We'll be mixing with a wooden spoon and using a knife to cut the butter. Because we're going to be warming very gently the milk and melting the butter, we're going to use a saucepan, and of course we'll be baking in a baking tray. When they come out the oven, we'll let them cool off on a cooling rack. But remember, always use oven gloves because you've got to keep your hands safe from the heat of the oven. So I think we've really got everything ready. We can crack on and do some baking. Okay, so we're going to weigh out our ingredients now. I think the easiest way for me to do this is for you just to trust me that I'm going to now weigh out, using my digital scales, 500 grams of strong white bread flour. So I'm putting it into my beautiful little bowl that was given to me as a gift from Brigitte last year. 500 grams. 500 grams is half a kilo. 500 grams. Oops. Take some on, take some off. Okay, good, we're there. That's the flour. And to the flour, we're going to add our yeast. And we need, oops, 2 teaspoons of yeast. 1, 2. And 1 teaspoon of salt. I'm going to put that all in my big bowl. Okay. Clear the decks a bit. Okay, so to my salt and my yeast and my flour, I'm going to add my cinnamon. We're going to make it really spicy, so we're going in for 3 teaspoons. 1, 2, 3 of the cinnamon, and 3 of the ground allspice. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Okay, so we're mixing that through just a little bit, and now we're going to weigh out our dried fruit. So we've got the recipe actually that you've got will say 150 grams of dried fruit, which I'm going to add a little bit more to, because I actually don't think that's fruity enough. So I'm actually going to double it, 150 of the raisins, and I'm going to do 150 of the sultanas. So 150 plus 150 is 300. So actually I'm doubling the quantity of fruit. I'm going to make it really fruity, just the way I like it. So your recipe will say 150. I'm adding 150 of the raisins, 150 also of the sultanas, and together 150 plus another 150 is 300. Good. So that's that. I'm going to add that, all that beautiful fruit there, to the bowl. And lastly, the dry ingredients, the mixed peel, and we're just going to add 25 grams of mixed peel. Okay, good. So that's the mixed peel. In with all the other ingredients. And then we've got to measure and weigh our milk and our butter. So I'm just going to set that aside, and in our measuring jug we've got to measure 300 millilitres of milk. Again, you'll just have to trust me. There we go, that is actually 300 millilitres. And that's going to go in my saucepan with 50 grams of, 30 grams, sorry, of butter. Okay, so we've got 30 grams of butter, and my dog has joined us, so he's down here. So I'll just ignore him for a bit, and we're just going to put this on the hob and warm it very, very gently. We don't want the milk to boil, we just want the milk to warm very slightly and the butter to melt. So whilst that's melting and warming, we've got last piece of ingredient is our egg, which we're going to very carefully crack on the side of the bowl and add it into our mixture. Dog's in the way. And we just wait for that to melt off, warm through, and then I'll be adding it to our dry ingredients. So the butter is now melted, the milk is slightly warm, it's not hot, it certainly isn't boiling, just very gently warm. I'm going to pour it into a well in the middle of our flour and just mix that through, and we'll get a really fairly sticky mixture to begin with. Don't worry if things spill over the side, we can pick them up later. Okay, mix to a shaggy dough. Remember that expression? It's when everything isn't quite fully together. You're going to mix, make sure all of your ingredients is combined beautifully, and then when it is, we will tip it out and start kneading.
good. So we're ready to tip this out onto our work surface. Get every last drop because we spent all that time weighing it out. Don't waste any. Okay. And then we're going to do the fun bit, the kneading. Now really this should take at least 10 minutes, but as long as you can possibly bear. You want your dough to become smooth and elastic. We can do the window pane test towards the end of our knead, so that we can take a little piece away, look through it, stretch it out, and if we can see through the dough, it's ready to start proving. So we're just going to carry on kneading it nice and strongly. So we've got now our dough, which has doubled in size. It's proved, it's risen up, and I'm just going to take it out of the bowl, and we are now going to knock it back, just getting rid of some of that air, and then we will be dividing it up into 75-gram balls of dough, evenly divided up so that we've got equal measurements for all our hot cross buns. Okay, I'm going to do that, and then in a minute we will be shaping them. So I have weighed out the dough equally into 75-gram balls, and we are now going to shape it into our little round buns. They're going to end up looking like this. I'm going to just demonstrate a couple for you, just as round as we can get them, nice and smooth on top, going round and round and forming a nice neat little ball. Okay, so these are our buns, all shaped into round, smooth little balls. They are now in the baking tray, and I will set those aside in a second so they can prove and get nice and fluffy and bigger. So that's them done. And meanwhile, we can get ready our paste that's going to go on top of our buns for our cross. In here we've got 100 grams of plain flour, and I'm going to be adding 100 millilitres of water and cracking in 1 egg. There we are. Okay, and we're just going to whisk that to make a nice smooth paste. So I've got the paste and I've put it in my piping bag, which in actual fact is a plastic bag with the end cut off, because I haven't got a piping bag. These are our buns out of the airing cupboard, looking big and fluffy, and they've proved they've got bigger. So now all I'm going to do with the paste that we made earlier is I'm going to pipe along in one direction, our cross, in the meantime I've preheated the oven so it's nice and hot, and it's at 200 degrees. So the oven is ready for the buns to go in, which we'll do once we've done our crossing, and they're going to go in the oven for about 25 minutes. So those are our crosses. I'm just going to redo that one, that's gone a bit strange. Alright, good. So that's our crossing. I'm going to put that back there, and they're going to go in the oven. The buns are out of the oven. I've put them on my cooling rack, and now we're going to glaze them with the honey. This is our honey from the Mount, which I've actually just put some in a little bowl, just so it's a little bit looser and runnier, and I've just given it a little shake around. So we're just going to dollop on each bun, comme ça. And then I'm just going to get my pastry brush and just give them a very, very quick glistening and going over with a pastry brush so that they are nice and shiny. Okay, you don't have to do this bit, just adds a little extra bit of sweetness and a little bit of sheen to your bun. Okay, now I'm going to keep on doing that, and then in a minute they'll be ready to eat. We've got the finished hot cross buns here with the honey glaze on them, with the Mount honey. I really hope you have a lovely time making your hot cross buns. Please send me your photos, and I look forward to seeing you all hopefully really soon. Take care.